First of all, thank you very much for all being here today. My name's Polly Higgins. I'm an international lawyer, and I have proposed into the United Nations that we create an international law of ecocide. As most of you know, I've written now 2 books, Eradicating Ecocide, which has actually won the People's Award, which is wonderful. And why that's so important is that this is a book that is written not for lawyers solely, it's written for lawyers, but it's written for everyone. And what I'm wanting to do is demystify law. At the end of the day, law is not that complicated. It's complex, yes, but it's not that complicated. And often people don't even want to look at law and the context that it holds within our society and how we govern this world because they have fear around it. What I'm doing here is I'm demystifying it and letting you know that actually law is not to be feared. It's very simple at the end of the day. We can actually ask ourselves a very simple question about any law, any rule, any regulation, whether or not it's international, national, or even a council decision. Whose interests does this serve? People and planet or the polluter? Very simple question. You can ask time and time again. If it's the former, the interests it serves are people and planet, then you know that you're onto something that actually will serve the greater interests of the widest society, Earth society, what I call the Earth community. So you start to look at things far more holistically. But if it's a law, rule, a regulation that's actually serving the interests of a polluter, then what you have is something that's life-destroying rather than life-affirming. Everything I do is governed by the principles of being life-affirming, the very sacredness of life itself. So the first book actually sets out in chapters 5 and 6. Bless you, Thomas. Chapters 5 and 6, sets out the actual proposal that was submitted into the United Nations back in April 2010. Book number 2 takes that proposal and takes it to a far deeper level. Last year we held a mock ecocide trial here in London at the UK Supreme Court, and some of you here today were very much involved in that. And that was truly remarkable because it gained huge international attention. It was live streamed by Sky TV, and we ended up with publicity in international papers right across the world. Building on that, book number 2 came into being, Earth is Our Business. And it's about changing the rules of the game. That's what law is. It's the rules of the game of life. And how we can change them, how we can use a law of ecocide. So this book sets out, probably most crucially, the most important part of this book is actually the very end, the appendices, where it sets out the sample indictment that we used. It sets out an Ecocide Act. And that Ecocide Act has a preamble. And the preamble is put in there. We don't normally do that in British law, but we do it with European directives. A preamble to explain the thinking behind the Act. So I urge you all, if you don't have these books, we do have copies here, to take them and have a look at this. And really these are tools in their own right. This book is under a global Creative Commons license, and everything that we do and we put up on our website, everything is open sourced. It's one of our principles that we have up on the website as well, is that we open source everything. Nobody has ownership over a good idea, least of all me. And in fact, to discover that the law of ecocide already existed for over a decade in the United Nations before it was removed at the 11th hour just proves that. What I am is a vessel, a channel for messaging this. And why you're here today and why you're engaging in what I'm saying is because you are also a channel for this message as well. And not just this message, this is about being a voice for the earth, whether or not it's talking about ecocide, earth rights, whether or not it's standing up and speaking out on behalf of the earth in any context. It's allowing ourselves quite literally to get out of the way and letting that voice, that message to come through. And each time we do that, we set out a very specific intent for the earth. And that's what's so powerful here, because really this is about ending the era of ecocide and being able to move forward. So it's about also knowing where the tools are. Any good lawyer knows where to look to find information. Every good lawyer knows that it's not about knowing all the answers. We couldn't possibly know all the answers. And being unafraid to say that if we can't answer a question. I don't know that, but I do know where to look to find that out, or I do know where to ask or who to ask. So never be afraid that just because you're not an expert in something, you cannot speak out. Of course you can. Because ultimately this is about what drives you, what you feel. This is about something that's far more heart-centered rather than head-centered. Of course, by the end of today, you will have an awful lot of knowledge around this, which should give you more confidence to speak out. But I urge you never to fear speaking out just by dint of not knowing enough. Your gut instinct is possibly the most powerful driver of all. That knowledge, that instinct that something is either right or wrong, allows us to speak up and say this is just or this is unjust, and this is why I believe it to be so. And speak from that personal capacity. It's very powerful because people hear that when they resonate with what drives you as an individual.